Hey folks, this is Ryan, welcome to Deconstructing the Game. I finally finished this video on the remains of the NPC schedules in Cyberpunk 2077. Most of what I discovered on this was found while looking at other theories, so this project kept getting put on hold. The first time I noticed that there might be remains of NPC daily routines was when poking around the Biotechnica Flats area. I noticed the people in the small settlement here did things I hadn't seen NPCs do before, or did things in a different way. For example, they seem to have an entire day worth of activities that includes stopping to eat and taking turns sleeping on these couches. I filed it away for later investigation until I was poking around the trailer park area. It was here that it finally clicked to me that there seemed to be three distinct types of NPCs that could be identified by their degree of interaction with the world. Before I go on with my theory of why this is, let me break down those types. The first type are what I call the old-style NPCs. These night citizens have something vaguely resembling a daily routine that also seems to fit their appearance and location. For example, this scavenger guy goes around and scraps things all day, taking breaks to buy food from the vendor and eventually walking back to one of the trailers and disappearing for the night. These are what I think all NPCs were originally meant to be like in the game, but have now mostly been replaced by the other two types. I suspect the remaining ones are only the most basic examples, but that's only speculation. The second type are what I call static NPCs. These always appear in the same spot, though their appearance may change from a pool of variants. They have a few animations and maybe some scripted dialogue, but they repeat it every time you enter the area. These are quite common in the world and seem to exist only to add the illusion of activity without adding an actual event to the area. They make the world seem alive the first time you enter, but you may get used to them to the point where you give them nicknames before finishing the game. The final type are what I call the new fake NPCs. These are the most common and the ones that give the game its bad reputation for NPC realism. They basically just wander a simple route and then disappear. They can do a few animations like talking on their phone or sitting down, but these seem to have almost no logic or reason to them in most cases. The creepiest example for these in the game by far are the children in the trailer park. They wander dejectedly out to the end cart station waiting for a school bus that never comes. Sometimes they get frustrated and throw rocks at the station. Then they wander back the way they came, eventually disappearing in this yard to be replaced by an endless cycle of repeating children. I'm not sure if this was some kind of Kafkaesque joke by the developers, but it illustrated really well how weird these ones appear if you pay attention to them for more than a moment. Now before I get into theorizing about how this came to be, I want to introduce you to a night citizen that illustrates best how much more immersive this could be, even if it only kind of worked. This is Crazy Bob. Like all NPCs, he scans with a different name each time you see him, but he has a sort of personality type of a homeless drug addict. Now I'm still not sure this is even intentional by the developers, but Crazy Bob will go on these sort of walkabout vision quests every few days. I first discovered him by almost running him over out here on my way into town one day. He wanders around, rain or shine, apparently fiending for a fix and occasionally contemplating the universe. Again, this totally could be a coincidence that this NPC's routine is broken and he just happens to appear to be high, but it really works in the world. If this wasn't the only time I'd ever encountered something like this in the game, I might have had a totally different impression of the citizens of Night City. If truck drivers stopped at truck stops to have an angry phone call, and cops sometimes pulled into convenience stores for donuts, I might have ignored more of the people just wandering around mindlessly. My theory as to why these NPC types exist is pretty simple. I think having all the citizens in the game following these schedules, possibly with unique names that were persistent, was just too resource intensive. I also strongly suspect it didn't work that well. Just judging by the rest of the game. While it probably looked great at times, I imagine a lot of people having walkabouts like Crazy Bob, and doing the same things at the same time like we already see. Anyone who's played much of The Witcher 3 probably found the second two types of NPCs pretty familiar. People who stand in one place and do one thing, plus people who wander the world aimlessly. That's the NPCs of The Witcher 3 in a nutshell, and I strongly suspect the same systems were put in to replace most of the original NPCs fairly late in development. Not much seems to have been done to fit and polish them, because they struggle to even sit down at times. This is still just a theory, but I'll continue to test and hope for improvements in the upcoming patch. Thank you for watching Deconstructing the Game.